You surely know the names of the wealthiest professional boxers, but have you ever wondered how large their purses were for just one performance? Friends, in today's video, I will tell you about the highest payouts for a single boxing match in the history of the sport. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, and also leave comments in 4 words. Well, let's get started. Number 10. Mike Tyson, Peter McNeil, $63 million. The first but far from the last mention of Mike Tyson and his record purses today. In fact, a guy like Iron Mike was initially destined for an obscenely large income, but Don King took control of the situation and he can squeeze money even from a stone. Before his first career defeat, Tyson as a champion was already earning record amounts, but strangely enough, after returning from prison, he began to earn even more. Mike was released in 1995 and almost immediately got a fight for his comeback. Peter McNeil became the opponent, and even if it were any other game, people would still pay to see the return of the legend. The comeback of the knockout artist was a bit messy. Tyson dropped his opponent in the first round and was able to finish him, but McNeil's cornerman intervened. The cornerman entered the ring in the middle of the round and they ignored the referee's order to leave, resulting in disqualification. On the other hand, even such a result did not affect the sales of pay-per-view broadcasts and tickets, which brought in almost $100 million. The payouts to the boxers were as follows. Peter received his first and last championship purse in his career, amounting to $25 million, and Mike earned $38 million for his triumphant return.
Mills lanes and stopped that nonsense because they were starting to butt heads. Oh! Tyson with a left hook, a right uppercut, down goes McNeil again!
McNeil's hurt this time, Steve. He's very hurt. He can barely stand up. This fight, he's got about 30 seconds left.
They want Tyson to go to the neutral corner.
Number 9. Saul Canelo Alvarez, Gennady Golovkin, $65 million. Saul Canelo Alvarez holds the status of one of the main figures in the boxing industry, and I think you understand, such a person simply cannot receive modest purses. Yes, the payouts for the Mexicans' fights are not as epic as Floyd's or Tyson's, but Canelo fights quite often, on average 3 times a year, and each time he takes away a couple of sacks of money. For example, for his last performance against Jamal Charlo, Canelo earned $50 million, but Charlo's purse was much more modest, so their bout did not make it to the top. On the other hand, we have the final match between Canelo and Triple G. The first 2 showdowns between the middleweight division behemoths were spectacular but not very lucrative, while the third turned out to be absolutely the opposite. In the first half of the fight, both boxers were minimally active, and Canelo secured rounds with explosive combinations. The ending was better, but it still did not compare to what the champions used to deliver. Undoubtedly, fans expected something else, but a large number of tickets and pay-per-view broadcasts were already sold, and the amounts in the athletes' contracts were agreed upon, so there can be no claims. Regarding the money, Alvarez became $45 million richer, while Golovkin, as a former champion and a sports legend, earned $20 million. Number 8. Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, $69 million. The last super fight of the 20th century, or the Battle of the Millennium, this is the status of the epical confrontation between Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad. It was 1999, and in the welterweight division, 2 undefeated monsters reigned supreme. The first was the Golden Boy, who won the Olympics and became a champion in 4 weight classes with 7 title defenses of the WBC belt. The second was the Puerto Rican Da Vinci of the boxing world, a mighty knockout artist with a powerful left hook, heading into a streak of 14 successful defenses of the IBF title. Bringing together 2 such bright, unstoppable and uniquely different boxers was a brilliant and, at the same time, very profitable idea. In simple terms, the meeting was bound to be financially successful, and so it turned out to be. The showdown between Oscar and Felix lasted all 12 rounds and became one of the best in the history of the weight class. With an incredibly close score, Trinidad emerged as the winner and the new undisputed king of the division, leaving his opponent unbeaten in terms of purses. De La Hoya received $41.5 million for his performance, while Tito received $28.5 million. By the way, the cumulative sales of pay-per-view broadcasts for this showdown set a record for the welterweight division. The record held for another 8 years until it was surpassed by a fight that we will definitely talk about later. Number 7. Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, $70 million. I believe you've already missed it, so let's return to the old times with Tyson. I still can't stop marveling at how well the Iron and Don King tandem worked. Yes, at some point, their paths diverged, or more precisely, Mike severed those ties, even reportedly beating up his promoter. But before that, the Tyson plus King combination meant only one thing: an unreal profit. So in 2002, an aging and visibly faded Mike got a title fight against the dominating Lennox Lewis. The Briton was the undisputed number 1 in the heavyweight division, but he still lacked fan love. So a fight against the star of this magnitude could fix that. Don King managed to promote the confrontation masterfully, portraying it as if we would see Tyson at his peak. Naturally, many wanted to witness such a spectacle. For the Iron fans, it was a sad evening. Mike managed to take only a couple of rounds at best, and the rest of the time, he just couldn't reach the agile Lewis with his punches. After the halfway point, Tyson ran out of cardio, making it easy for the champion to knock him out. The only thing that could somewhat help Tyson overcome the bitterness of defeat was money, and luckily they paid him so much that he could practically swim in it. To be precise, guaranteed payouts for each boxer amounted to almost $20 million, and with a percentage of pay-per-view sales, the guys each received $35 million.
No, you can't take that from him.
Big right hand from Lewis, and Tyson goes down for the 3rd time in his career. 6, 7, 8, 9. It's over. Lennox Lewis cements his legacy as one of the best heavyweight champions of this.
Number 6. Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, 1. $75 million. It's time to talk about the iconic duology between Tyson and Holyfield. Perhaps some may not know, but we were supposed to see this confrontation even before Iron Mike went to prison, but it never happened. Instead of Mike, Holyfield faced Buster Douglas and easily defeated him, claiming all the belts in the heavyweight division. 6 years had passed since that day, and much had changed. Holyfield suffered several losses and was no longer at the helm, while Tyson returned to the scene and regained momentum. Mike secured 4 consecutive victories and also obtained a WBA title. Understanding that time was running out, Don decided to close the gestalt and pitted the two former champions against each other. Interestingly, despite a clear decline in skills after his return, Tyson was seen as the favorite, with odds of 1 to 20. Initially, Mike set the pace at the fight and fully controlled the proceedings. However, as his massive body began to lose strength, Holyfield increasingly took the initiative, and in the 10th round, he severely rocked Iron Mike. Tyson couldn't fully recover, so in the next segment, Holyfield destroyed him. The world was in shock, and the bout received the status of Fight of the Year. There was no need to talk about an immediate rematch, it was a given. The financial reward for the boxers was $45 million for Holyfield and $30 million for Tyson.
Looking to put Tyson down and end the fight. Tyson is not in trouble. He's saved by the bell.
Number 5. Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson 2, $87 million. When underdogs win, especially those given a plus 1900, everyone thinks it's a ludicrous coincidence, a 1 in a million chance, and to disprove it, you just need to recreate all the initial conditions. The bigwigs of the boxing business made fans wait a bit, but after 6 months, they finally did it and granted them the eagerly awaited rematch. The second bout between Holyfield and Tyson was discussed many times more than the first showdown, and the intrigue was simply insane. All 16,000 tickets were sold on the first day, and the pay-per-view sales counter skyrocketed at an incredible speed. Wise analysts calculated that the outcome of the first meeting was indeed a mistake, so they again made Mike the favorite, but now not at such a huge odds. Tyson himself was all nerves and shortly before the fight requested a change of referee, believing the previous one was biased against him. Unlike the previous fight, this one entered history as one of the strangest and dirtiest, and it came from both sides. Hollyfield twisted his opponent's arms, hit the back of his head, and engaged in headbutting, while the enraged Mike bit a piece of Holyfield's ear. It all ended in a massive brawl and Tyson's disqualification with a subsequent fine of $3 million. But was it significant? Considering that Iron raked in $52 million in one night and Holyfield received $35 million, I think this fine didn't seem too serious to the former champion.
At that one, at that bite. Now here's the bite. Keep your eye on Mike. See, Mike has just, see, look at him. You can see it. You can see it. There it is.
Number 4. Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz 2, $98 million. It is commonly believed that Tyson Fury is one of the highest paid boxers in recent years, especially in the heavyweight division. Yes, the Gypsy King does earn quite a lot for his fights, but not compared to Anthony Joshua. During his championship reign, AJ was the undisputed number 1 in terms of earnings among all boxers. To substantiate this claim, let me provide some general figures. $26 million for Vladimir Klitschko, $30 million for Joseph Parker, $36 million for Alexander Povetkin. Each of these checks already sounds fantastic, but they are nowhere near Joshua's record-breaking purse, and I'm referring to the rematch with Andy Ruiz. The first bout turned out to be chaotic and slightly insane. The somewhat overweight Ruiz stepped in on short notice and knocked out the undefeated champion. Much like Tyson's situation, everyone thought it was absurd, so the guys were allowed to cross gloves again, this time in Saudi Arabia. Before the fight, Joshua's team requested to increase the standard size of the ring, and as soon as the bout began, it became clear why. Anthony intended to avoid his opponent for all 12 rounds. Working effortlessly with his lead hand and avoiding uncomfortable positions, Joshua secured a decision victory along with a staggering $85 million. The Brit experienced the generosity of the Saudis even before it became mainstream. For accepting an admittingly uncomfortable rematch, Andy received a mere $13 million, but as you understand, this was just a drop in the ocean compared to Joshua's purse. Number 3. Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, $112 million. You understand perfectly which fight will take first place, but before discussing that, we need to talk about the honorable mentions. The bronze in the most expensive fight category goes to the battle between Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya. We'll talk about money shortly, so let's start with Oscar. Since the fateful defeat to Trinidad in 1999, almost 8 years had passed, during which the Golden Boy managed to regain a title, lose twice to Shane Mosley, move up in weight, suffer a knockout from Bernard Hopkins, and much more. Most agreed that De La Hoya was no longer the same as at the turn of the century, and Mayweather would simply tear him apart. Floyd was at his peak, dismantling champions with scores like 120 to 108, so such an opinion was justified. However, reality turned out to be cruel. The Golden Boy delivered his best performance in years. He was fast and penetrated the defense of the seemingly untouchable Floyd while elegantly dodging counter-punches. However, in the second half of the fight, Oscar's activity dropped catastrophically low and Mayweather claimed victory by a split decision. The encounter was memorable for fans as one of the most technical battles of all time, and the boxers were generously rewarded with nearly equal payouts of $60 million for Mayweather and $52 million for De La Hoya. By the way, this fight rewrote the historical record of De La Hoya and Trinidad in pay-per-view sales, surpassing it by almost double. Number 2. Floyd Mayweather, Saul Alvarez, $120 million. It's time to talk about the silver in this top, and again, there's nothing surprising. When it comes to record-breaking payouts, you will always find Mayweather's name in the headline, and the second name today has already appeared. Okay, there's no point beating around the bush. I'm talking about the bout between Floyd and the young Canelo. If we had seen this showdown around 2018 when Saul reached the peak of his popularity, I'm sure it could have competed for the top spot. However, at that time, Alvarez was just an intriguing Mexican prospect holding a belt. It was precisely on him that Mayweather set his sights, whose record then stood at 44-0. The official judge's verdict was a majority decision victory for Floyd, but everyone who saw this fight in its entirety at least once understands that Canelo was simply gifted a win in a few rounds to make the score not look too one-sided. The tactical and defensive genius that is Manny schooled the future star in the art of boxing and showed that there was still room for growth. However, from Floyd, Canelo not only received a good lesson, but also a boost in popularity as well as the biggest purse in his career, amounting to $13 million. Mayweather undoubtedly kept the lion's share for himself. Considering all sources, his purse for this fight exceeded $100 million, which remains an enormously large sum to this day. Extra: Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, $175 million. It would be foolish to include this bout in the main top, as it has the same relation to boxing as the Fury and Ngannou match, but not including it was also impossible. The idea of pitting boxers against MMA fighters emerged in the mid-2000s when mixed martial arts began to gain popularity. However, often it was boxers who stepped out of their comfort zone. The first to do the opposite was the double UFC champion Conor McGregor. In 2017, the Irishman was at the peak of his popularity and brought the company tremendous revenue. So when UFC president Dana White learned about his protege's desire to fight the boxing legend, he did not stand in his way. Mayweather himself was also interested in this, if only because he could finally bring his record to 50-0 against a not-so-dangerous opponent. The desire for an easy payday also played a significant role. The promotion of the fight was a resounding success, and the guys did not disappoint. Floyd allowed the notorious to showcase himself and played a role of a boxer, but when Conor's stamina began to fail, Manny joined the game and finished him in the 10th round. For defeating an MMA fighter, Mayweather earned $100 million. McGregor was not left empty-handed either, and his account increased by $75 million. Do you also hear Francis Ngannou crying somewhere with his mere $10 million for Tyson Fury? Number 1. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, $300 million. This bout was hailed as the main event in boxing long before it could be organized, and it was quite a challenge. For many years, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather simultaneously dominated several weight classes, facing no equals, yet their paths did not cross. Despite frequently beating the same opponents and claiming the same titles, they couldn't agree on a joint fight. Many involved parties claimed that Floyd was the main stumbling block, not wanting to face the peak Pacquiao. I believe there is some truth to this, but it's not the whole truth. In any case, in 2015, promoters managed to bring these two global stars together, making it the most anticipated event not only of the year, but of the entire decade. The long-awaited battle turned out to be a disappointment. Over the years of bloody clashes and championship battles, Pacquiao had aged more than Mayweather, making him unable to provide worthy competition, ultimately losing on all judges' scorecards. Mayweather solidified his status as the greatest and earned the largest purse in the long history of boxing for a single performance. For this bout, Floyd pocketed $180 million, while Manny took home his well-deserved $120 million. Pay-per-view sales for this fight reached 4.4 million, nearly doubling the previous record. I think it will take many more years before a match can overshadow the Mayweather vs Pacquiao encounter in terms of magnitude. And that's it. Did you enjoy the video? Then be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. What do you think is the most lucrative fight that can be made in boxing right now? Share your thoughts in the comments.